Hello YouTube and welcome to Full Dottle, a channel dedicated to tamping topics such as pipes, tobacco, lore, and more. I am your host, the Bearded Briarman, and without further ado, let's get lit. Welcome back everyone, and on this episode of Full Dottle, I'm going to be telling you the story of my first experience with my daughter's bully in school. But first, a little housekeeping. I am smoking my Missouri Meerschaum Country Gentleman, and in it, I've got some Esoterica Pembroke. So, fresh out of the Marine Corps, I was a very violent person. Ready to fight at the drop of a hat, spent a lot of time in jail, just wasn't in a healthy position mentally. But that led up to what I consider the dark night of my soul, and I had an awakening, my enlightenment. And through that enlightenment, I swore off violence for the most part. I adopted the non-aggression principle with caveats. In my opinion, there's only one way to deal with violence, and that's with violence. I'm one of those people, I do not believe that these people that wish you harm, that would inflict violence upon you, are ever going to listen to, please stop, or why don't we talk about this? That's not the way they work. They only understand more power. And so if somebody initiates violence upon you, the only way to deal with that is to answer in kind, overwhelmingly. And so that's the caveat to my non-aggression principle. I will never initiate violence. However, if violence is initiated against me, I will answer with overwhelming violence. Win or lose, I will come back with everything I have. That story leads into my daughter's first experience with a bully at school. My daughter was starting to have issues at school. Every time I would drop her off, she would come back, or she wouldn't want to go to school. She would be crying and clinging to me, and at first I just thought that maybe, it was because she didn't want to go. My daughter and I have a very close relationship, a very good relationship, and we love each other very much. I thought, just like a lot of kids, she didn't want to go to school. She wanted to stay with Daddy. This was her kindergarten year. So at first I didn't think much of it. I asked the teacher, what's going on, and she said she's doing fine in school, no big deal. Well, it started to get a little bit worse, and she would just shut down when I would take her to school. And so I asked her about it, and she never really gave me a straight answer. I just miss you, Daddy, or stuff like that. But later on, though, her mother contacted me and said, we have an issue with bullying at school. And apparently Sophia, my daughter, had confided in her older sister. Her mother and I, which aren't together, her mother has an older child, her sister, and she confided in her and told her that there was a bully in school that was trapping her, and it started with name calling and stuff like that and progressed into more physical type contact. Now, I don't subscribe to the notion that words are violence. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's what I was taught when I was a kid. Somebody can throw accusations, they can throw words at me all they want. As long as you don't put your hands on me, You're free to express your opinion. I don't have to listen. I'm not under any obligation to listen, but you can throw words at me. And so that's how I teach my daughter. Don't listen to words. Number one, most of the time people use words out of anger to try to hurt you, and they have no meaning, so don't pay attention to them. But when she said that it was getting physical, I knew that an intervention was being called for. So one night, I had her in the bath, and I was talking to her, and I said, tell me about what's going on. And she said that this girl at first was just calling her names, that she was stupid and stuff like this. And my daughter is far from stupid. My daughter is in the top of her class she's going into the second grade. In kindergarten and first grade, she's always been advanced. The teachers have always pushed her to the next levels in math and reading. I've been reading to her since before she could crawl, and we read every night while on my side. Her mother and I share joint custody, so 50% of the time she's on my side, 50% of the time she's on her mother's side. When she's on my side, we read every night before bed. We have 2 stories that we read. Generally, it's one of those like a little golden book or something along those lines. Now she's reading to me, which is awesome. But we have story time every night. We do math together. There's a program called Reflex Math. Highly encourage you, if you're a parent that has a small child, to look it up. It's an awesome program. Anyway, I make sure that she does these things because, in my opinion, reading and math are the 2 most important subjects in all of school. If you can read and if you can do math, all of it other than that is really just additional things. So she explains to me, started out with name calling, but it had started to progress into shoving, and at this time, the most recent occurrence, she trapped her in a bathroom stall. My daughter was using the restroom, shut the stall, locked it. This girl crawled underneath and wouldn't let her leave and was threatening her. So I told her, and I teach my daughter that along the lines of words, words are nothing more than air. But I do teach her that you never start something, but you don't let somebody put their hands on you. And I've explained to her the principle of non-aggression, not initiating violence. And I told her, I said, there's 2 ways we can deal with this. The first way, the next time she traps you in the stall or puts her hands on you, you do not warn her. The second that she touches you, you make a fist like this, you put your thumb in between the 2 knuckles here, and you punch right on the tip of her nose or on her chin somewhere. And I told her, just like I've taught you in T-ball, you open your hips up, you swing through, and you push like you're trying to push a button, and you punch her right in the nose or in the chin. You don't give her any warning, you just do it that quick. I said, generally, a bully is not wanting to fight. They think you're weaker, and that's the only reason they're picking on you, because they're cowards. But be prepared that you might have to roll around on the dirt with this girl. And she smiles at me. She says, Daddy, won't I get in trouble? And I said, from the school, you will get in trouble. The school has a policy of absolutely no physical contact, and you'll be suspended for a week, 7 days. I think it might be 5 days, a school week or whatever. I said, but if you're defending yourself, no matter what happens at school, I'll pick you up and I'll take you to go eat ice cream. Because what I'm teaching you is you defend yourself, period. It doesn't matter what the school thinks. There is no everyone's at fault in a fight. That's BS. She just kind of shrugs me off. I said, you're not going to do that, are you? And she said no. So I said, number two. Number two, you let Daddy handle it. Told her, I won't embarrass you. You won't even know that it's happened, but it will stop tomorrow. She said, I want to do that. So I said, okay. So I immediately contacted my attorney. And I've learned throughout life to keep an attorney on retainer. So I do, and a dang good one too. A bulldog. Just like my pipes. Not this one, but just like my pipes. I keep a bulldog in several venues of my life. Anyway, so I contact my attorney and he tells me what to do. Tells me, you need to write a letter to deliver to all involved, because what this does is it sets a precedent for if this ever does have to be litigated, if it goes to court, then you have proof that you've done everything that you could to prevent this. And they failed to take action, and so they would be liable for whatever the consequences are. Now, I live in Arkansas, and in Arkansas we have some pretty stringent rules on abuse and stuff like that, even from school-age children. And that's how it ought to be. Back in the day, they would say kids will be kids or whatever, and I don't believe in that either. Now, I believe in being tough. I apologize if I'm using a shotgun mic on a GoPro right now. I don't have my lav mic, so if you can hear the air conditioner, I may have to shoot this again, but either way. So, I don't believe that you should just fight it out and tough it out if you don't want to. There's no reason why a kid should have to fight, and they should never be left by their own devices. So I write the letter, and the next day I take it to the superintendent first. I made 6 copies of this letter. First copy I take to the superintendent. Secretary tells me, well, he's busy right now. Is there anything I can help you with? And I said, no, I'll wait. No big deal. I've got a letter I need to deliver to him. She says, well, what kind of letter is it? So I explain, this is the beginning of a legal record, and the next step is going to be a lawsuit. I didn't know, because I had never been in the superintendent's office. His door was open, and the next thing I hear is, come on back. So I go into the gentleman's office. He sticks his hand out. I shake his hand, and I discuss the situation. I give him the letter. I tell him I'm here on the advice of my attorney, and this letter is the beginning of a legal proceeding. So, there it is. He reads it, and he says, Mr. Wynn, I assure you, this will be dealt with immediately. All formalities aside, we shake hands, wish each other a good day, and I go on my way. I leave from there, and I immediately go to the school. The superintendent's office and the school administration building and the school itself were separate. So I go to the school, and I do the same thing. I tell the secretary everything that's going on. I have a letter that's the beginning of legal proceedings, and I need to deliver them to the principal, to her, to the teacher, to the school counselor, and to the school nurse, which apparently the school nurse was a witness to some of these events and didn't report them. So I hand it to him and I explain the situation. And to the school's credit, it never happened again. I've talked to my daughter several times since, and she said that she has never had this situation. And this last year, her and the girl that were involved actually became friends. So I am extremely proud of the school for doing that, what they should have done. Now, technically, they should have suspended the girl, but that's not for me. I'm not the disciplinarian to other children. But if it would have happened if one more incident would have happened, we would have been in court. I would have absolutely sued the school district. Anyway, so I'm curious if any of you out there, you parents, have had situations with bullying and what you did about it. I'd love to hear them. Put it in the comments. If you'd like to do a VR, you can do it that way. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of Full Dottle. I hope you enjoyed my story. If you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And until the next time we see each other, I bid you farewell and happy piping. Bye, everyone. Don't forget to enlist in the Full Dottle platoon. It's easy. Just click the subscribe button. Also, hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as I upload the next episode.